leave
You
that
couldn't
discussion.
leave voicemail.
Hello, senators. I'm Representative Kate Logan. I already. Senator McCormick. I'm trying to find someone who would be available at 6 p.m. to take my place in the corporate cup.
Not in this committee.
Nobody wants to run 5K at 6 p.m. today.
Senator McCormick and I can split it. We can each run 10 steps and then pass off to each other.
Five steps, 5K. That's close enough.
Okay.
Seems good.
Find Tucker, no, Tucker's probably already.
The arthritis,
Yeah, anybody else you know who is a mayor?
Senator Watson.
Already asked, she has an event. I'll keep asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think, who am I missing? Senator Bray, all right. Okay, to start with, we have had no movement on the child care from the House. We have offered to give back the child tax credit. We have given away the parental leave. Last night, we gave them something to do with four-year-olds in schools. And they have been stuck with corporate and personal income tax.
And we've said no,
No,
and we should continue to say no.
we have. So, Richie pops in here a little while ago and left his computer because Emily's in talking to Jay.
Mhm.
So I went in and they have seated on the payroll tax. So that's the first movement. And she had some other,
I'm sorry, who's seated on the payroll tax?
the House Ways and Means.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they would agree to our payroll tax. All right.
I wouldn't either.
There are some tweaks in there that she's working on with, what was it? Oh, self-employed and what they would pay. And she wanted the all wages, do away with the cap, the Social Security cap, to make up for the money that you lose by only requiring self-employed people to do 25%. I haven't seen any of these this December. So
So this will be put into what bill? Is it
this,
something else?
they have the child care bill.
56?
Yes, so my understanding is it is coming back on 56 with those changes. But I have not confirmed.
Do we know what the total amount of money involved is?
No. I literally got, at 1:30, they arrived in here.
I mean,
It's no different than, I think, the total amount that we have. And Jane may know better. She had Stephanie over there calculating. But she has concerns about miscellaneous tax. And there are things we have put in it that she would require a committee of conference. So she has given me her list of what she would like out. And Abby and Becky Wasserman are drafting these because in order to get that bill moving, they're gonna put it in all stages of passage on the floor today. So at some point, if there's gonna be an amendment, it's gonna be today.
they're going to try to put 56 in all stages of passage?
I will check, I don't know that they got that.
This
So
means
I will
you.
check with Ashley and make sure they probably are going to wait until we do miscellaneous tax. Trust me, this has been the hardest negotiation I have done in this building.
Yeah.
They have not budged. And last we heard, their committee was so wedded to the corporate and the personal income tax that they could not possibly do it unless we set up a committee of conference that would run through the veto session. They asked us not to do a committee of conference and to have the money chair try and work out an agreement you could vote on. And last night they were saying, but there hasn't been any public dialogue. So it's been difficult. Let me tell you what they want. They want salt out. Their rationale for putting salt on childcare was that they were making more income tax, they were raising the income tax, therefore it was fairer to put salt on. So they wanted that. Tax stabilization, we took that out. I didn't even realize we'd taken it out because it's always been there. We got kind of bogged down in if the building burns down, you still pay on the value. Tax stabilization says the same thing. If the city cuts, David White, apparently, I haven't seen his email. David is a consultant. He was the planning director in Montpelier and head of Montpelier on the move. My daughter babysat for his kids. David is a consultant that helps towns do TIFs. So he's got a vested interest in this. But what it says is, you're already getting to borrow from the property tax to do this. If you cut another deal with a business to come in and say, you won't pay any higher taxes for 3 years, you still owe the state's property tax. No town has been allowed to negotiate away a state tax. So that's stabilization, and it's one of the ones we've done. I don't have a problem with it. There's something we took out about a TIF emergency that's in the bill but never been used. She wants it in to strike it. It went in, I guess, in the original TIF. It's news to me, but she wants it fine. Oh, and then it is apparently very important to House Commerce that the veggie extension only be for 1 year. Okay. Because that really is in Commerce jurisdiction.
Mhm.
So I know that everybody wants to do some work on veggie. If he wants to hold them, which would make it 25, I think. To the best of my recollection, that's what they wanted.
My only worry on veggie is means we're just gonna have this again next year. Why not do
We
2
would,
years?
I think because they want to contingent it on some. Our cuts the Republican.
So,
Senator Hinsdale,
I mean, I was thinking we said 3 and they're at 1. If we could land on 2, the uncertainty of waiting till May to do this to people, if we want to look at it next year, that still says, okay, we'll look at it next year, but it's not going to be like a showdown in such a close way to when they need to make decisions budgetarily.
25, right? It's this, we're taking it, burn my notes, to 27. It isn't July 1st, it's January.
So January of 25 is their
Yeah,
proposal.
I'm still looking at it. It's back here. Let's get service. No, Yeah, we are extending the incentive from January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2027. This would take us to 25, which is the year a new legislature would be coming in.
It's 25, not 24.
Yeah, we would extend it to 25, not
And the
20.
effective date of the bill is July.
It's got various, but most of them are July.
When you say they want salt out, they will just want to keep it in childcare or?
No, they don't want to do
Because it gives money to the rich.
it. You'll have to ask Emily,
I
but
mean, I think that's just it. But the notion that we can give money to Vermonters at no cost to the state of Vermont, that's just plain vindictiveness.
it is. Okay, I can tell her that I'm getting pushback,
Lots of pushback.
lots of pushback. All right,
It's the time to meet in the middle, I think. You know, it's the time to say, you want one, we want three, let's do two.
let's do two. That we can do. Salt, I think, is an up or down.
Right. Ugh.
And I don't know if they've taken any testimony. I don't know anything, but, I will see if I
Basically,
do.
what they're doing is, and it's surprising that a Democrat-leaning group would want to do that, because it basically is continuing a Trump-era policy that was designed to punish blue states.
Yeah.
And the notion that this group would want to do that makes no sense to me at all.
The notion that they were gonna do a corporate tax to fund childcare didn't make sense to me at all. That's the way it is. I can send that missive up. I will go tell Ashley to see if we can set up a meeting and let her know and tell her you came from the machine.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so I've got a couple questions. Are they sending S-56 back clean? Are they, what else have they agreed to in there? And then we've got, possible amendments before third reading, and I will go, but those two are in question.
Salt also raised the state $1.7 million.
I know,
And it's only for 2 years.
I know,
It seems really silly to not want to just pass that bill.
I know. But they have given us a fair amount, so, think about it. I'll go see if I can negotiate 2 years, Reggie, because that would have the deadline be just before the new legislature comes in, which is not ideal because we'd have to do something next year. Okay,
You just waste more time doing the same thing over and over and over again.
so think about it. Senator McDonald, can you run the process of seeing if we have any more appointments? I know Senator McCormick does. So if you can take over, I will go deliver the message to leadership, okay? I think Senator McCormick has 3.
I do.
They'll be,
Make quick work of them.
and the list is here in my file somewhere. You have it, okay. And I will go,
I only got one.
okay.
Still, it's eluding me. I think this must be an alias. If you can't find them on the Great Control West,
Hiding from their creditors.
then something's up.
We don't ask the right, basically, the whole confirmation process, they don't ask the right questions.
We don't ask the right.
We don't ask the right questions, what's your name, where are you from? We don't ask you what's the longest time you ever been in jail or prison. What's the most serious crime you ever committed and get caught doing? Those are the questions you ought to be asking.
I actually do ask the old question, have you done anything in the past that would be an embarrassment?
And embarrassing, oh yeah. And typically that is done.
And usually they laugh. Occasionally someone really takes offense to that. Anyway, I want to get this finished. I'm sitting here.
Any self-confessed felons?
I didn't know in the private sector when I was doing those kinds of things, because I got answers to some of those questions. And one guy committed a murder
What?
years ago.
And he got an appointment?
No, this wasn't an appointment, this was when I was doing polygraph examinations.
You were what?
Doing polygraph
Oh.
examinations.
Well,
Senator Corn.
okay, I'm presenting to the committee the name of Fred Baser of, well, he listed as among his qualifications that he was your friend. Of Bristol, and he has been, I believe, reappointed as a member of the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. He has a bachelor's degree from Colgate, a friend of Senator Bray. He's a retired financial planner, former House member, and when asked what his interests were outside of the specifics of his appointment, he mentioned Habitat for Humanity, which actually does speak to housing. When asked if any scandals in his past,
Are you ruling him favorably? He reappointed?
well, I'm doing my due diligence,
He's on his way to the punchline.
giving the committee a report. Okay, so
Pretty ambitious this vice chair.
you're fairly loquacious at times yourself, Senator. So in any case, I would suggest that the committee recommend the confirmation of his appointment. It runs from, he's already been appointed, he's been there for a while without our confirmation, until February 28th, 2026.
So this is a reappointment.
What's that?
He's
It is a reappointment.
Senator Cormick. Confirm the reappointment of Fred Baser to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. All those in favor say aye.
Hi. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Senator Ron Hinsdale, are you voting in session?
Yeah.
I'm not in a great place to get on video if you don't need my vote. I do love Fred, but if you don't need my vote.
Okay.
6-0-1.
I bring the committee now, Marie Milford, I'm not sure of the pronunciation of the second, it's a hyphenated last name, Milford hyphen Ajanma. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. She has been appointed, she is from Waterbury and has been appointed as member of the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. She holds 2 master's degrees. She has worked in real estate and with veterans. She is herself a veteran of the war in Iraq. She has no scandals. And I would recommend, what's that?
Can we clone?
No scandals so bad that she was conscience bound to discuss them. And in any case, I will move that the committee urge the Senate to confirm her appointment.
Senator, why don't you take over, because I need to find my sheet here to know who we're
Senator
doing.
Cormick has moved the appointment of
Shall I help you? Marie Milford Ajanma of Waterbury.
to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And finally,
Lisa?
Can't turn her video on, so she can't.
She's busy. Okay,
I bring to the committee the name of Thomas Levitt of Waterbury, who is also appointed to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. Mr. Levitt has an MBA from the University of Pennsylvania. He is presently vice chair of the FHFA, the same appointment to which he is now being considered. He is president and CEO of the Northfield Savings Bank would imply some competence in the matter. A long history in banking and various financial activities, and he has no scandals in his past. So I would urge the committee to recommend to the Senate that we confirm his appointment.
Senator McCormick has recommended the confirmation of this letter to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And,
So,
Zero again.
yeah. So what do we have left?
I have one more.
You have one more, okay.
Let me pause so that Clark can get his paperwork. This will be for David Marvin. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
I'll start while you're getting your paperwork.
Yeah.
So, I spoke with Mr. Marvin, David Marvin of Hyde Park, Vermont. He's appointed as a member of the Vermont Economic Development Authority for a term from and including September 21, 2022 through February 29, 2028. He has already been attending meetings. He would like to serve on the board. A little bit of background, Mr. Marvin of Morrisville has been a sugar maker, should be Hyde Park is his home, is a sugar maker and forester since 1972. He's founder of Butternut Mountain Farm, family enterprise focused on production, processing, and marketing of maple products from its own farm and hundreds of others. There's 140 employees, and they provide diverse maple products to all sectors of the food industry. This comes from an official website. The farm is located in Morrisville, and the farm store is in Johnson. In addition, Mr. Marvin is involved in forestry consulting services and has several hundred clients with a combined ownership of nearly 100,000 acres. Mr. Marvin also currently serves as a board member of Shelburne Farms, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, the Preservation Trust of Vermont, and the International Maple Syrup Institute. He's served on numerous civic and nonprofit boards. I had a good conversation with him, and pleased to move that the Senate Finance Committee recommend his confirmation to the full Senate.
Okay, Senator Bray has moved that we recommend to the Senate the confirmation of David Marvin to the Vermont Economic Development Authority. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to point out that Senator Bray's presentation was a lot longer than any of mine. Senator McDonald made no comment.
I missed that, so I'll ignore it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Senator McDonald, I've got notes here that says that, have we done Fred Bullock?
No.
Okay,
So 601,
601.
putting my sticker on my copy and deliver it to the Senate Secretary, because I believe you have to deliver your own.
Okay,
Oh, we do, okay.
okay, we got Fred Bullock.
Yeah, I didn't deliver mine that I did the other day.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we confirm Fred Bullock is a member of the State Infrastructure Bond Bank. This is a reappointment for Mr. Bullock, and it should be that he had done nothing to embarrass the governor. Last night.
And he's also
I
been
put those yesterday, when we did the confirmations and how they're recycled.
I have copies of it.
You do, okay.
Yes, yeah, and we'll get them all upstairs. Okay, we have, that was a motion, Senator McDonald.
It was.
Senator McDonald has moved that we appoint Fred Bullock to the Infrastructure Bond Bank. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay, that one carries. So I have, did we do Mark Foley?
No.
We did. No.
He is Mark Foley.
Alright.
Of Rutland. Also a reappointment to the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank. And he also has assured me that he has done nothing to embarrass the government of that since his last appointment.
Okay.
I remove his confirmation.
Senator McDonald has moved that we recommend the confirmation of Mark Foley to the Infrastructure Bond Bank. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0-1. That says that we have Ed Orgasalak.
Spoke with
You
Mr.
did.
I did.
Ah.
Last afternoon, his appointment is to the Vermont Education and Health Buildings Finance Agency. Four years, or until a successor is appointed. This is his first appointment to this job, but he has performed been on similar boards in the past, as appointed and confirmed by the governor, and he too is assuring me that he has done nothing to embarrass the governor.
Okay. So Senator McDonald has moved that we recommend the appointment of Ed Orgasalak to the Education and Health Building Finance Agency. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Did you reach Peter Hood? He's,
No,
okay,
I now have another lead on him. I think it's an alias. It's really not available on me.
If you get an email from him this morning, because I talked to Rita and they confirmed with him that he received an email from you that said he would respond.
I searched on his name 3 different ways in my emails, and I did both his name, I didn't find.
Okay.
can
Did you
they,
receive one?
Not from him, but I talked to someone from Rita trying to get more information. And somehow they confirmed with him that he got an email from you, but didn't respond.
Well, I'm on the trail because I hear he's employed at the Noel W. Johnson Insurance Agency.
I thought I knew the name.
So I'm calling, my next
Call-
call is to the
Call
office.
Noel Johnson
Over there.
down here. Yeah, they should be able to get in touch with you. Okay, that leaves, if we can get Peter Hood, David Coates, who is,
So he had a health incident
Yes.
and
and he's not available.
I happened to have spoken to him on the phone, within the last week.
Oh,
And he assured me he was doing well. We did not discuss this specifically.
I attempted about a month and a half ago and was told he had a. recent health
Yes.
incident.
He'd had a stroke.
but
We compared those.
I need to try again, my apologies.
no, maybe we should just confirm him. David Coates is a known,
No quantity.
he is a known quantity.
We,
I'm surprised, yeah.
he said he was doing well.
Even at half speed, David Coates would be an asset.
Texas
Okay,
tried to steal
you
him once.
wanna make that motion?
So look,
All right, Senator McDonald has moved that we confirm the appointment of David Coates to what?
I don't know.
A member of the municipal bond.
Municipal Bond Bank. I should know that. Okay. Is there further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no.
Easy, that was a good deal.
That, okay, we can get a hold of Peter Hood. We will have ours done. Now we can get back to miscellaneous tax. I have talked to leadership, obviously, because they escorted me in. They say this is as good as it's gonna get. It's up or down. I will put the amendment on, and present it for myself, but I would like to have the support of this committee. They're not gonna do salt this year. The 1 year is whatever we'll deal with it next year. It's pain, but we'll deal with it. That's This is their final offer. They are not sending us back 56. God only knows what we'll get on there.
So
But they will send, everything is going out on the workers' comp bill. And they will concur on that. The changes, Jane confirmed them to me. They're doing the payroll tax. They are going to treat self-employed like employees. So they will only pay 25% of their wages into the fund. And the raise in the cap, which doesn't make very much money, because there aren't very many people above that cap, will offset the cost of only having the self-employed not have to pay. And the rate is down to 80, it's lower than we had. We sent it out, the estimate was it was gonna be about 8.87. It's down to 0.84.
Did they offer any more reason? Because this is just a net additional $1.7 million to the state of Vermont, and it's only for 2 years. This is just bad policy to not take
Trust
advantage
me.
of this.
This is the end of the session. A lot of bad policy
Very
or things
disappointed.
we don't like get done in order for the greater good, which is childcare.
I don't see this as the greater good. I think this is just flawed
Okay.
policy, so I can't support taking it out. But it sounds like the decision's been made.
I mean, I'm lost on what the 0.87 is again. What does that represent?
Okay, the bill that the House attached. Right now, the state page, let's see, you only got 90% of the tax back that you owed, or that you return, you only got 90% of your return went to you. 10% went to the state.
Okay, well, I thought that was what we were doing with salt, though.
That's what we're doing with salt.
Yeah.
The House version mimicked Connecticut and I think some other states, and they only return 0.87 point something %, and the difference was that the state went from 500,000 to 1.7 million in income. None of that money's been accounted for or spent. It's just $1 million we aren't gonna earn, or 500,000. But it's what it's going to take to get childcare, which is our prime.
But that's what I don't understand, is if they take the salt out, that's where we were using that percentage. It was based on our keeping, in effect, a portion of what would be
Yes.
returned to those people.
Right.
And if we're not doing salt, where do we get the point, what does the 0.88 represent? Because we're not giving any money back to
No,
anybody.
we're not, no, that their bill, the state was keeping more. But they
How's
don't,
the state, is the state, in effect, doing the tax exemption that the individuals would be earning? I don't see how that makes any sense. I don't understand what this does, is what I'm saying.
no, what this, we're working on it.
I was coming in, I'm sorry, to interrupt. I was coming in, you know, we received H471 and we will be ready if it's supposed to be done today.
Yes, that's what we're trying to settle. I
Okay,
think there's going to be a floor amendment.
We will be ready upstairs.
I'm just very disappointed. And it seems like it's the right thing to do for a variety of reasons. It's raising $1.7 million to pay for childcare.
No, that
20
1.7 wasn't going to childcare.
I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to know how others around the committee think on this. It just seems like this is bad policy.
Here we go, all right,
I've got to confess, I'm confused now. This is.
I don't understand this at all, quite frankly.
okay. The only thing to understand is that they will not pass this with the salt exemption in miscellaneous tax. No matter what the thing is, the money that would be raised by the salt exemption, because it hasn't been passed, isn't in the budget, nothing's being deprived. They want the SALT exemption, that 1-year extension,
Instead of 3.
instead of 3. And that is House Commerce wants that. And where's my little list?
How does the SALT exemption work? What,
So it allows for the Trump tax cuts that was applied back in 2016 for states, the blue states, to be able
That
to.
applies to pass-through entities, to in effect be taken effectively as a tax deduction in the state. There's a workaround that 20-some states have done that allows this, and the IRS has said it's okay. So the net effect of that would be for people who have partnerships or people who have multi-member LLCs to recover the state tax, that the deduction of the state tax paid on that income from federal taxation. But what we were doing is we're only allowing 90% of that tax to go back to the individuals as a tax refund. The 10% we were keeping is profit to the state that we would not have gotten, but it was also just to provide a buffer to make sure, that there was no potential error, no potential quote handling costs, no potential of loss in doing that tax refund because of computational errors and the like. The House now said, well, let's do first was we're going to do 87% of that rather than 90%.
Part of that is that Connecticut, that's the number
Well,
other states.
again, that's de minimis to keep using that term, that's fine. But now they said there's not, they refuse to do SALT.
Right.
But then, so my question is, what is this 88%? Why is that even relevant in this?
It isn't relevant.
But what you said that there was,
No, the SALT thing that they attached to childcare that they have not sent back was a SALT bill, I don't know where it came from, but they attached it to childcare. It was just slightly different than ours in that percentage. They are not sending us back the SALT bill, and they do not want the SALT bill on miscellaneous tax, because then they will not be able to concur and they will want a committee of conference, which means all the money that we're raising, and most of this, we're not raising money, it's technical corrections that need to be done. And so that's a big ask in this bill. What they've given is they have ceded on not insisting on a corporate and personal income tax to pay for childcare. They will go to our model of the,
but then you said a few minutes ago that the amount they were talking about was something like 0.8 something. Is that right?
that our estimate when we sent out the childcare bill is that it would be 0.87% on the payroll tax, and that got divided 25% to the employee, 75% to the employer. The new estimates is that will be, is Helen, 0.84?
I'm sorry, I was,
The newer estimates for the payroll tax is 0.84%.
for the
Childcare bill.
for the H217, it was 0.44.
Yeah, that's right, and
Yeah.
that's what I thought, because we went out at 0.55 as I
Okay.
recall.
Then I've got that wrong, it's 0.44, so it's down,
All right, so it's down.
yes. So that, and then that gets divided employer, employee. So they have ceded on childcare.
Now, if they, in terms of what they are ceding to this childcare, we have 0.44, and is that sufficient money to do this ad infinitum, or is this enough money for the short term, and then looking at a higher percentage later? Is there any?
When we set it out and knowing appropriations, we didn't have to put any money into the paid family leave. So, and they've also reduced some of the rates at the top. This has been the two healthcare committees debating that. So this is the final number, the bill coming out of appropriations is the 0.44. There's been adjustments to make up for, let's see, Jenny went over it yesterday on the floor.
I'm trying to understand whether there's any bait and switch going on in terms of a rate today, and is this the long-term final rate, or?
I think as far as one can predict in good faith, we're saying this is the rate.
I picked up this because of Michael Sorokin and Chris Pearson. I remember this time last year, they made such eloquent remarks in favor of this, and then it just didn't get across the finish line. It's just
free money.
It's free money, so I'm just very disappointed if we can't keep it alive. We are literally stopping $1.7 million coming from the state of Vermont, as well as $20 million
Coming back
to
to
the state.
taxpayers who paid it to the federal government.
If this doesn't get across the finish line, I just will be very disappointed, and I'll just say, I just think this is just a mistake, but I'll leave it at that and.
Okay.
damage.
But
Yeah.
give me a reason why we don't want $1.7 million more for the state of Vermont.
I cannot give you a reason to Representative Kornheiser or the Ways and Means Committee.
This sounds vindictive, quite frankly.
It does.
Friendly fire.
Towards who? Who are
Might
they
be.
punish? Who are they trying to punish?
You won't be. Because those are the people who have sub-S corporations and who are receiving pass-through money on the basis of partnerships and multi-member LLCs.
I think she'll also tell you that they were the ones that benefited from the tax cut and that people working for wages. So
But the point is, this does nothing
aren't
to
getting
give any
anything, so
money
you've got
to lower
something.
income taxpayers. It is all federal money.
That's their point.
Yeah, it is not state money, but that is the requirement.
29 other states have done this. I think 2 more.
Yeah, I'm not the one to argue with, I voted for it.
You're in the don't shoot the messenger position.
I am, don't shoot the messenger, that is committee motto.
I'd encourage this committee to stand the ground on this, to keep it in there.
We'll lose it,
Well, that's
we
right.
don't
I would
have
say have
time,
them.
we
blow it
will
up because of
lose, we will lose the bill, and there is nothing, well, there's a couple of must-dos in the bill. Which they'll probably put on the budget.
I think this would help Vermont, and it would be foolish not to pass this bill.
And the press is here, yeah, they're hearing this,
It's not my intention either.
okay.
So the question is, those things are in there. You know, what's must pass that's in that bill?
What's in here, the link up with the federal tax code, the veggie extension.
Yeah, that's right.
If
The notion of veggie
if they
extension for only a
agree
year.
to concur with the childcare on the unemployment, then those may not be. It's the link ups to the tax codes.
Is there any place to put that in case this bill dies?
Budget.
Well, no, the budget's been, is the budget,
Budget's done.
it's done.
Are you waiting for a draft? Is that what's happening?
I'm,
You haven't seen the budget.
the draft will be secondary. It's getting
The
agreement.
content squared away.
Yeah, we just need to decide, can we do this? Is it worth the last day of the session making a stand over essentially salt?
I do think it is, because it will only last for this year and next year, and then this goes away. And this is just a way to correct some of the punitive Trump tax cuts that only help the southern states and penalize the blue states. This is a way to help
How much
Vermont
money
businesses.
was, I just don't remember the total amount of money, but it was not an insignificant amount.
No, it wasn't.
Going back to Vermont taxpayers.
1 year.
20 million.
Yeah, I want to go home tomorrow as much as anybody else, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says the 12th of May is when we have to
No.
adjourn. There's nothing, I mean,
But
there's
it
no
does cost
substance. It's not as though-
$70,000 a
Well,
day.
indeed it does, but we're talking about giving away a lot more than that. And I've got plans, I'll have to cancel, but there it is. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing to not adjourn tomorrow, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Maybe we
Well,
have
it won't
to
be
put on our
tomorrow.
big kid pants.
I can tell you, having negotiated childcare, the last 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks, that there was no movement on the House. If we go to a committee of conference, it will be headbutting. And is it worth it? The chance of getting a seat on this is minimal.
This is $3.4 million more to pay for childcare. So this is.
It's
money
not
the
going to
state.
childcare, and it's 1.7.
Well, for 2 years, 2 years.
So,
It's money that we're leaving on the table.
yes, we are leaving money on the table.
I'm sorry, Senator Sorokin and Senator Pearson, I tried to get this over the finish
We
line.
all tried.
But if you're leaning towards keeping it in there, sir, I'd appreciate it. I would like the House to say that this is why we won't pass the childcare bill, because we don't want to keep $1.7 million for the state of Vermont and $20 more million in the state of Vermont.
If you'd like, I could ask if Representative Kornheiser, do you think she'd come down and talk to us?
I am happy to send her a text. I believe she's in committee.
There is a question
Probably nothing
about
more important than
why
talking to the finance.
they
committee.
would not accept the salt.
If that's the reason to not concur, that's.
It would be very helpful to hear the rationale argued by
Yeah,
someone.
maybe there's something we're missing.
I mean, I'm not doubting your,
No, I'm not advocating for any
If
side.
there's some rationale that they have that's logical, that makes sense, that maybe we don't understand.
I'm sure that Representative Kornheiser has a rationale.
well, we're all anxious to learn.
And we could hear that if we go to committee conference. I will present the bill as we have it on the floor. We are not finished in 25 minutes with the proviso that there will be, in all likelihood, amendments before third reading, but that will unless we come back tonight, keep us from doing third reading today. We
Well,
really.
Yeah, and we also have, coming back to economic development also.
I know, but
Just like the previous point, if this is why the House would choose to not concur on childcare, not keep 1.7 million in the
she's
state.
there, but she doesn't want to go to committee of conference, which means we will drag this bill out, I can guarantee you, until
The veto
the
session.
veto session. At which point, if the governor vetoes it, we're up the creek.
I can understand not wanting to do a committee conference. I do think there's another way to resolve it, which is to have a conversation that I know that we've been working on, so I'm not doubting.
No,
that you've
we
tried
have
to
not,
push things.
this, well, it's now an hour ago, was the first time I heard that there were issues. I said, I've been very careful not to put anything in here that you hadn't done. I said, we did include some things that we didn't have time to work on. But we could not put salt in here and send it back on 94. Is it 94 we're still sitting on?
We don't.
That was the original Barry TIF. 93. No, 94. I mean, we could send salt back on 94. That's the Barry TIF. That's where they decorated everything. So we could send salt back for on 94 as a standalone. And maybe she would allow that to go to the floor. Would that work?
Maybe.
But it's at least lets the question move forward as opposed to getting the really unsatisfying experience of being told you're not even allowed to ask a question.
Yeah,
Otherwise, some might be just tempted to vote no.
yeah. Are we agreeable on everything other than salt? Which is,
Did Senator Rollins suggest to meet in the middle with the 2 years for veggie?
I suggested it, I was told it's very important to two committees over there. It's not worth fighting over,
I don't know if I agree with that.
okay?
Collected like a whole.
You're up.
I don't know what happened. I walked here and all of a sudden other people were with me on my walk.
That's your escort. Okay, Representative Kornheiser, I think we're good on all the proposed, basically inclusions, deletions, and miscellaneous tax, except salt. And I'm pretty close to a tie here. So they're focused on, this will get either $500,000 or over $1.5 million to the state, free money. Why wouldn't we do it?
So, miscellaneous, what do we call the bill? Administrative and technical changes.
Formerly known as miscellaneous.
Yeah, but we called it administrative and technical changes in a hope of keeping it fairly narrow because it is a must-pass bill. And because we have the link up in it. And so given where we are in the session, our committee would very much like to concur with the bill so that it can pass because we are hours out here. And our committee is not ready to concur on SALT, especially in the context of sort of an administrative, it is not an administrative move. It's like a fairly major piece of tax policy. And we were comfortable doing it in the context of S56 because it accompanied an increase. There was a focus on S56 and making sure we were taxing pass-through entities. And so in our committee's conversation, when we passed SALT on the House in our committee, we were talking about using the earned income tax credit as a way of lowering the tax liability for lowest income people and using the SALT as a way of lowering tax liability for very high income people with pass-through entities. And so it was a way of buffering that increase on both sides. The way we described it in committee sort of jokingly was an earned income tax credit for rich people. So I know that our Committee on Commerce would want to spend a lot more time on this if we were doing it in a different context. And I know my committee would want to spend more time on it if we were doing it in a different context. If it was 2 weeks ago, I think I wouldn't be sitting here. We would just work our way through, but I don't think we would be able to find our way through to it at this short end of the session point.
So my understanding, it's only relevant for the next 2 years, this year and next. So if we don't pass it, we're effectively missing an opportunity to save Vermont businesses that were penalized with the Trump tax code, $20 million, as well as collecting $1.7 million for the state of Vermont, which I know we could use for good things. It just seems like we're missing an opportunity for policy that was on the child care bill. I understand how you just relate it there, but I just see it as such an important thing to give something, some additional, something to the Vermont businesses that have been negatively affected because of our tax code here in the blue state of Vermont from the last few years.
Have you, Graham Campbell did a really comprehensive memo last biennium that I don't know if you saw because we're on the committee then.
No, Senator Chittenden wasn't here.
Okay, and then we've had other JFO staff come in and talk to us about it. The folks that are benefiting from this tax increase are sort of the very people that we've had conversations about, like, you know, good tax policy doesn't widen the wealth gap, right? Good tax policy narrows the wealth gap. And whether it's at the federal level or the state level, I think there's some discomfort that our state level policy actions are going to contribute to a widening of the wealth gap or what is essentially legal tax evasion at the federal level. And so I think my committee is uncomfortable with that. I know that Representative Markov, the chair of the Commerce Committee, you know, was quoted in Vermont Digger saying something similar last year. It's a big piece of tax policy. And which doesn't, you know, it's a lot to put in an administrative changes bill.
We call tax evasion. 29 other states have done it.
Okay.
The longstanding policy before the Trump tax cuts, which was specifically designed to punish blue states. And so our citizens are being treated disproportionately as a result of that. And this simply corrects that. 20 some other states have already done. It's just left kind of aghast.
I think we have heard the reasoning is that both of the committees of jurisdiction in the House have not had time to do adequate work on this. They're not ready to support it. So our choice is, are we going to put it in there and have this bill go down and then come back to us and perhaps not pass. This is the end of the session. We all swallow things we don't like. There's been some swallowing on the other side, on other bills this week, so. Okay, any other questions for Representative Kornheiser? Yes.
So because this is year 2 of SALT, did you all have conversations last year? I'm just wondering if this is discomfort with the notion of widening the wealth gap, or it's a lack of time to have considered the idea, period.
So the Commerce Committee is almost all brand new folks, and so they have not had time to consider it. The Ways and Means Committee is uncomfortable with it from a tax policy perspective. And I think there's also a question of that JFO has raised the most recently about the idea that we might come to depend on income that is sort of dependent on the federal government taking action on something in the long term.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, committee, we're on the floor in 15 minutes. Do you see if Abby has the amendments done? Okay, gone to. But I would like to be able to present this on behalf of the committee. And
Or just say one more thing.
Yeah.
It's not just rich people that this will benefit. This is small businesses that will use the money to then provide more benefits and more salaries.
no
So
one's arguing.
I just won't swallow. I can't vote for it. I'm just very
Okay.
disappointed, and I think this is a mistake. I would love it if this committee kept it in, because this is good for Vermont, and it's what we should do.
But it will kill the bill, and by the time we do it, there won't be any benefit.
I would have the House kill the bill because of this, and we can say why,
But
that's
then
me.
we are gonna go off.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, trust me.
Well, the question that I've got to think about is, I'm very concerned about not supporting the bill because of this first. And then second is the issue of rule suspension. I'm not sure that our caucus would be interested in suspending rules on this bill.
Okay. That's fair.
I fully understand not getting everything you want and compromising to get the job done. I used to have a little card quoting Ann Richards on my desk. Politics is a life of relentless defeats, punctuated by occasional partial victories. This year, that has been more true for me than probably any year I've been here. I am going home feeling badly beaten up, but I voted for most of that stuff because we needed to get a bill through. And I've explained to people on one bill after another, I fought the good fight. My colleagues did not find my arguments persuasive. And I voted for the bill because that was the bill. And that was the best we were going to get. So I am not itching for a fight. But you can, there do come times when what we're looking at here is it's late. Well, it's late for us, it's late for them. And what we're being told is, but they're stubborn. So the upshot is stubborn wins. Maybe we can be stubborn.
You know,
And then stubborn cancels stubborn, and now,
And-
you know.
we're either, this is not a matter of being stubborn. You have two committees over there that say they have not had time to do this. They stuck it in childcare because they thought we wanted it, and that might incent us to accept the corporate and personal income tax for childcare. But they are not prepared to say that they have done their due diligence to pass this. And they are not going to have a chance to do their due diligence this year. So we are stubborn. We are going to be not doing a whole lot of really good things that need to be done in order to be stubborn. And that's not usually the best thing. I am going to present these amendments on the floor personally, because I believe they are what's necessary to move us forward. I would like the support of my committee, but they're going to go to the floor and they're going to go to a floor vote. And I will give the floor the same explanation I've given in here.
I'd like to be a co-sponsor.
Okay, thank you.
Same here.
Okay.
The, you know, as awkward as it is at various times, get to the finish line. I wouldn't want to tell two other committees like that who say we haven't had time to do our due diligence, that because we have, and we've come to another conclusion, that they should just capitulate. I also feel as though you've done your very best as our chair to get us to where we are. So I'm happy to sign on to the your proposal and support it.
Chairman, this is, you got 1/3 of the people in this building are brand new. And I'm surprised that we've had more of this sort of unfortunate situation. And I respect your, follow your lead in trying to get us to this as well as possible.
Thank you.
One question would be whether or not the House committees would have sufficient time to do their due diligence if this were finalized at the veto session today.
Oh, I don't think so. Let's not, yeah. No, I don't think they, I mean, then we go to committee of conference. Senator Ron Hinsdale, are you with us? You want to weigh in?
I mean, I really sympathize with Senator Chittenden's frustration and disappointment. And, you know, if I was channeling Senator Pearson, he'd say the rest is still important to move forward. If I was channeling Senator Sorokin, I'd probably go, you know, find somebody in a hallway and give them a piece of my mind. So I just wish there was a little more time. I do think I worry that the comments of the chair of Ways and Means don't necessarily reflect how the entire House feels. It's disappointing. I just wish there was a little more time, and I agree it's not. I just don't like the characterization that this just benefits the wealthy elite. If a bucket is leaking, but it's leaking into other states, that's a disadvantage for Vermont small businesses. So I can't do much more than speak my piece, and back you up, Madam Chair, because you've fought a good fight to preserve our integrity around what we intended to do to advance childcare. And at the end of the day, that's more important.
We did get childcare, and it was one of our prime goals. So, okay, Senator Ron Hinsdale, would you sign on to the amendment?
Is this a SALT amendment? Did I miss that?
The amendment that I'm having drafted, their condition for miscellaneous tax. Let me get my notes, and I'll have to see the final draft to make sure. But what they would like not included in miscellaneous tax is the SALT amendment, which we put in because we thought they'd passed it. They want tax stabilization back in, and we had a kind of convoluted discussion, and I wasn't clear we'd taken it out, but it basically says if the town works a tax stabilization agreement, they still have to pay the state ed fund the full amount, not on theirs. Apparently somewhere in law, and it was included in the TIF in their amendments to 94, there's a TIF emergency thing, and it's never been used, nobody knows what it is, they want us to put it in so it can be struck. So we'd strike it. And then, both Commerce and Economic and Ways and Means would like only a 1-year extension of veggie to 2025 instead of 27. We can deal with that next year.
Madam Chair, on the,
Yes.
on the emergency tip language, isn't the same argument valid? I don't know what we haven't taken testimony on that. I don't know what it
No,
is.
we
I'd like to
can
see it,
say
but-
no, but it's none of us drafted TIF were even aware that it was there. It's never been used. It's just hanging there like an appendix.
I don't know if Senator Hinsdale has a strong opinion, but it seems like 1 year on veggie just makes us have to, it doesn't give enough time, especially with the report we're asking
And
for.
next year, we will extend it 2 more years. And this is like 248A. We don't make our lives easier.
At least I mean, what I can say is, unless things have moved and I'm not clear, we have the veggie bill now in economic development.
Yes.
We can move very quickly next session, and I will make sure we do that to get it going and send it here to Senate Finance and just move more quickly than the House did. in that piece.
Okay, yes, and we still have the veggie study sitting on 94. We still have 94, yeah, 94. We still have a vehicle if something comes up in the next day or two. And everybody is free to stand up and make their arguments on the floor. But right now, I can say I've got the majority of the committee, and if we can tell Abby I need
It should be any minute.
any minute, okay, so we can see the final. Before anything changes. Anything else? Senator Hinsdale, did you hear me say that they have seated on childcare and they will go to the payroll tax?
I heard that loud and clear. I mean, we're here listening to that. And
That's what we got.
That's
That's
huge.
what they gave out. And that, trust me, at 8 o'clock last night, they were not seating.
yeah, I think that's I think that's well negotiated, Madam Chair. That to me is the really, really critical piece. And the other things are unfortunate casualties, but that's a huge, huge for the position of the Senate and for what I think is the right path forward, which is our Senate Finance, our responsibility. How are we raising revenue and for what? So, well done.
I
We are
appreciate,
being called to the floor. I
Senator,
think we are done. I've got 3 co-sponsors, everybody
Oh, yes.
free to express their concerns. We'll see where the Senate goes. I've got a bill to bring up. Well, it's out there, and,
Help you to have co-sponsors, Madam Chair. I can agree to that if I didn't.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
just to say that I've got the majority, it was obviously not warmly accepted, but, that
Yep.
the majority has said for the greater good, we'll hold our nose and swallow our medicine, okay. Thank you, committee.
thanks for sharing here again today.
Yes, she's been quite attached.
She was this morning. This morning was the first time she was not happy.
I know. She's sort of like learned she can just hang on me and gets really upset now when she can't. So
Yeah. Were you doing S100 this morning when she got unhappy?
Yes.
no, she was really
No.
good for that. I think.
We had one before that.
Oh, one before that?
Yeah.
We get some people get cranky talking about S100 in our committee, so,
It did not coincide.
Fussing can't happen anywhere at any age.
It's true. It's true. All right. See you on the floor.
Okay, we are out. We are on